So, hello. So, this time, as you can see, I moved the piano the other way. And this is where it's going to stay. I did actually have a chance to record in the position against that wall and then now and against this wall. And as I thought, it wasn't going to make much of a difference, but perhaps surprisingly to me was that it actually didn't make much of a difference, even more so than I thought. It was very much the same, oddly enough, with the mic. I thought it wasn't going to make a difference, but actually, I was surprised at how little difference there was. There is a subtle difference, and you can certainly identify it. And since I listen to this all the time, I do, and I can. But still, it's subtle. It's not like it's an obvious difference in a glaring way. There's sort of it's really more of a spatial difference rather than anything else. But I moved it over here, and I'm going to leave it here because I found that playing it, what I'm hearing when I play the piano in front of it, here is a better place. There against the other wall, although in theory that seems better because the lid opens to the room. In fact, the bass was just overpowering in that arrangement, and it just made it almost unplayable for me over the long term. There was such an imbalance between the lows and the highs, and even me with my hearing problems, I could still say that this was too much. So I put it back here, and this is a much more um, agreeable place for me as a player. Miking it, recording it, there isn't much of a difference, but playing it, it's a big difference. So for that reason, I'll put it over here and leave it here as it was at the old house. And the new house, it's the same place. So that's where it'll stay. For today, I'm gonna do another original song. This one from the early '90s, 92-ish, I guess, called "Emergency." And what's going to be distinctive about this one is that I'm going to use an AI voice, not not as a replacement, but actually as an add-on. So as I'm talking about this, I'm going to flip through some AI voices over my voice as I'm speaking to give you an idea of what you can do. So I bought into a plugin a while ago, a application that
Allowed you to do AI voices of a singer and impose it onto another voice, in this case, my voice. And that's a paid thing, by the way. So these are AI, these are musicians singers.
Who were paid for their services to sing, and then they applied that to a artificial intelligence generated map.
To impose on another voice and to make that voice sound like the former. So these are paid people. This is not, you're not stealing something from somebody else in this case. Yeah, I'm not going to sound like Frank Sinatra. I don't want to sound like Frank Sinatra.
But any event, so that was something I bought into a while ago, and I've been experimenting around with this. This is the first time I actually had a chance to actually apply it. So what happened was in doing the song Emergency, the chorus, I did two separate tracks of it, two separate versions of it, not really thinking about just sort of that I was going to choose one over the other.
And then I thought, well, hey, I can put them together. Let's see how they sound together. And they actually line up, oddly enough, even though I didn't do it that way, but they ended up lining up anyways. And they actually harmonized to some degree, and it sort of worked out okay. And then I thought, well, I got the AI thing. Let's try it out with a different voice rather than just harmonize with myself. So I did that, and so that's worked out reasonably well. So I thought I'd let that fly here.
AI voices are interesting as you're hearing. Because what they do is that there's two separate things going on here. You've got AI voices as in it impose one person's voice onto another person's voice. That's one thing. But you've also got artificially generated voices from scratch, which are not human at all, but are just artificially created, which are not real people at all. So that's a separate thing. This is not artificially created. I mean, this is still me, still a human voice. But in this case, we're just changing how that voice sounds effectively. You're in some sense you're filtering it in some way. But artificial intelligence voices actually go farther than that, and they allow you to map the many characteristics of one voice onto another, so that you effectively make yourself sound like somebody else. But oddly enough, I found was that when I did that, I sort of realized that, well, it does and it doesn't. So in a static sense, you sound like someone else. In a dynamic sense, not so much. So if you do it to your voice and you listen to it, you quickly can identify, oh, that's me. Underneath the layers of processing, you say, oh yeah, that's me singing, isn't it? And it is, and you can hear it because you have a signature which the artificially intelligent voice map doesn't really get rid of. In a static sense, you look like someone else standing still, so to speak, but as soon as you start to move around, maybe you don't. You don't, at least not as much. So, a photograph is one thing, but a motion, something animated is something else. And so that's true here too. The voice, you do sound like somebody else, certainly, but you don't necessarily sound not like yourself either. So the way you attack a word, your dynamics, the way you say certain vowels, all these things still come through to one degree or another. And so you can sort of quickly hear, that's me, that's not somebody else. So it's not a complete 100% change in that sense. But either way, so what I did, like I said, I did the artificial intelligence voice map is really what it is, a map, not a synthesized voice, but a map of one voice onto another. And I used that for the chorus. So the verses, no, but for the chorus, I did that, and it worked out well enough as a blend. So that's what you'll hear now. And so this is, like I said, this is one of my old songs called Emergency from the early 90s.
Sirens wailing in my head, heart beats faster, painted red, flashing lights in my review, chaos on the avenue, phone is buzzing, can't pick up, medication just not enough. Things are happening much too fast. Can't tell what to do first or last.
It's an emergency. Can't you see lights unraveling in front of me? Am I gonna get through the night? Where will I be at first light?
Radio is screaming news of doom. Neon signs amplify the gloom. Smoke is rising in the air. Broken dreams are everywhere. Tires squeal on broken streets. Lost in moments, skipping beats. I'm off balance, gonna fall. Feel like I'm caught in some kind of brawl.